Good morning. Welcome to Theater Parker Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Allison Gottlieb, and I've been coming to Theater Parker Church for close to 20 years. I'm on the Music and Worship Committee and the TP Singers. As we enter into worship, we bring with us all of the sorrows and joys of our week, and we know that here we are held in loving community. Here we are reminded that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Here we seek to counter oppression, to work for healing and justice in the bruised and broken world. Here we invite all of you to bring your perspectives, your beliefs and doubts, and all that is unique and wondrous about you to our service. In the spirit of love, all are welcome here. Now, for those joining us in person, a few things you may want to know. Our congregation is mask optional, and if you would like to be seated in an area where others are also wearing a mask, this section over to my left, your right, is reserved for people wearing masks. You can use the QR codes at either entrance to pull up the order of service on your phone or take one of the large print copies available at either entrance. Our service is being recorded today and will be available to you on YouTube later. If you would like to have a joy or concern shared with the congregation today during our meditation and prayer, we invite you to fill out a card anytime before our meditation hymn on the table to your right, which is next to Theater Parker over there. You may also light a silent candle of joy and concern at any time during our worship service. People of all ages are welcome to move about in the sanctuary as they need to, or to make themselves comfortable in the cozy zone in front of the first pew. Children's programming will be happening today after the special dedication of two of our youngest children. During the service, our child care provider, Shay, is available to be with nursery-aged children in the nursery, located in our parish hall. And many thanks to Meredith, who is our camera point person today, and to Jennifer, who is our Zoom usher. If you're new to Theater Parker Church or are visiting today, we'd love to stay in touch. You're invited to fill out a connection card, which will give you an opportunity to sign up for our weekly updates and help us welcome you. A link to the connection card will be in the chat, as well as our contact info. Those joining us here in the sanctuary are encouraged to fill out the contact card you'll find in your pews within the welcome brochure. Okay, so now we'd like to take a moment to greet one another. For those of you on Zoom, putting your video on for this time helps us connect. And Meredith, will you please put our sanctuary screen in gallery view so we can see our offsite congregation? I can't. Yes. Let's give each other a big wave. And sanctuary folks, the camera is under the clock in the back, so wave back there. As we continue to greet each other, if online, you may post a hello in the chat. And if you are physically in the sanctuary, we invite you to greet one another and say good morning, and please ask for consent before offering a hug or a handshake. So you can get up and greet each other. Yeah. Oh, I can go. Odie, right here. Oh, here and here. Just feeding the food.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Heather Concannon. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the minister of this congregation. Our opening words are from Reverend David Breeden. Welcome to this place where equity and justice transcend mere dreams, where they are the air we breathe. Enter this sanctuary, all who yearn for respite from a world rife with scarcity and inequity, rife with the relentless shackles of privilege and bias. Come, embrace this space and be embraced by this place, this refuge where scarcity and disparity dissolve into we together, crafting a place where the breath of life is equity and justice, cherished, manifested, sustained. Our opening hymn is number 112, Do You Hear? It's in your gray hymnal, and the words, I believe, are going to be on the screen. Fingers crossed. We're having a little bit of tech issues this morning, so if they're not, I invite you to take a look at your hymnals. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit for number 112, Do You Hear?
Do you hear, oh my friend, the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you hear? Through the roar, through the rush, through the throng, through the crush, do you hear in the hush of your soul, of your soul? Hear the cry, fear won't still, hear the heart's call to will, hear a sigh, startling trill in your soul, in your soul. From the place where you stand to the outermost strand, do you hear, oh my friend? Do you hear, do you hear? All the dreams, all the dares, all the sighs, all the prayers are yours. Do you hear, do you hear?
Please join me in saying our words of shared covenant, our chalice-lighting words, which we say each week, both in English and in Spanish. Spanish is in honor of our sister community in Plazuelos, El Salvador. The words are up on your screen, wonderful. The tech is a little iffy right now, but we're working through it. Please join me. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es nuestra oración. Esta es nuestra gran promesa, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
Good morning. So this morning, I am so excited to share that today we will be dedicating 2 children in our congregation. And the ceremony which we are about to share is both ancient and timeless. In all parts of the earth and from the earliest days of recorded history, parents have brought their children to a place of worship to share their joy and their commitment to their children with their community of faith. Oh, Daphne, you're ready, right? Come on up. So I'd like to invite the McNabb family to come on up. Oh, we're going to be right here. Perfect. So this morning we are dedicating two beautiful children, Daphne Lee McNabb, who was born on January 16th, 2021, and Calvin Kendall McNabb, who was born on September 12th, 2022. And Calvin has a very special claim to fame in this congregation, which is that Allison's water broke with him on the day of our water communion. And we will be using some of the water communion water in our service later today. And this morning, Daphne and Calvin's parents, Allison and Matthew, have brought them here before all of us to be dedicated in our service. And we bless and dedicate children as a way of affirming that we are all beloved and sacred. And that we are a community of all ages and all life stages. All right, Daphne, we're about to do a very special part. Are you ready? Maybe you can have a grown-up pick you up. Would that work? And Shannon's up here too. Yeah, Shannon's very distracting in the back. So we bless and dedicate children as a way of affirming that all of us are beloved and sacred, born as a blessing right from the start. And we extend this blessing because we recognize that with the start of each new life, promise and hope are born as well.
Matt and Allison, will you share with the congregation the meaning of the names you have given your children?
Well, we chose their names based on our sense of their personality in the womb and at birth. They're based on beloved fictional characters. Calvin and Hobbes, you can imagine, and Daphne Moon from Frasier. And there's a dash of family legacy in their name. Okay. in their middle names. Calvin Kendall, he's the, fourth or fifth generation to have Kendall as a middle name. And Daphne Lee, she's the third generation to have Lee as a middle name. Okay.
We have a reading.
Okay. Yes. Okay, I do have a reading. I wanted. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, buddy. We might need to get his water bottle or something. Maybe switch with. This is. All right. So we have I have a reading here from The Joys and Sorrows of Parenting by a group called the School of Life, a group of academics, artists, psychotherapists, and educators headed by British writer Alain de Botton and his wife Sophie Howarth. My brother, who is Daphne's godfather, gifted me the book, and it's all crinkled and wrinkled because Daphne once spilled my water on it. The first reading is called Setting an Example. We naturally have high hopes for our children. We imagine that only if we could set them the right example, they'd instinctively learn to be happy, wise, moderate, and full of adventure, yet not take too many risks. They'd be patient, yet energetic and efficient, modest, yet successful, yet not preoccupied by success, fulfilled in their work, clever, but not snooty or pompous. We picture their ideal development, but there seems to be one major obstacle. We can't set them the example that ideally we want to. As we have to honestly admit, these beautiful ideals have eluded us. We are irascible, anxious, frustrated, disappointed in certain key ways in our own hopes, and very loving towards them. We worry that by seeing and knowing us, they will learn the wrong lessons about life. The paradox of love is that we want, via our love, to free our child from the ordinary pains of existence. Our more realistic and helpful motive would be to equip them to cope with, rather than magically avoid, suffering. Our own suffering and failure isn't an impediment to teaching them what they need to know. It's the essential playbook. If they are very lucky, they may suffer a little less than we do.
Do a little exchange moment. Let's try it. Great. So as part of our dedication, we ask parents, godparents, grandparents, and this congregation to make promises to the children being dedicated, to affirm our commitments and covenants with them. So we'll start with our parents here. Matthew Kendall and Allison Lee, you are the most important people in Daphne Lee and Calvin Kendall's life. Will you promise to care for them, to revel them in a sense of adventure, wonder, curiosity, love them unconditionally, share with them joy and laughter, show them the beauty the world is made of, teach them kindness and friendship, help them to know the difference between right and wrong, and navigate the complexities of in-between, embrace their hopes and dreams, and guide, respect, and protect them? If so, please answer, we will.
We will.
And we've got some godparents joining us on Zoom who we will spotlight. And I'd also like to invite grandparents who are here today to come up and join us up here. Daphne and Calvin's grandparents. I know there are many grandparents here. All right, we've got some godparents getting spotlight. Do you recognize those people, Daphne?
Nice, great. Everyone's on the same screen.
Everyone's on the same screen. Fantastic. Godparents. Clarissa, Aaron, Christopher, and Ezra, as Daphne Lee and Calvin Kendall's godparents, will you be their guide and their touchstone? Will you teach them unconditional and limitless love of the universe by sharing your unconditional love with them? Will you help to teach them a faith that in love and hope that is curious and knows no bounds? And will you help them along the way to become the people they have the potential to become? Will you promise to support Allison and Matthew as they seek to find ways to teach Daphne and Calvin the values and principles of their life? If so, please say, we will.
You will.
Okay, next we've got the grandparents. So I think we have some grandparents on Zoom and one in person. Amazing. Martha Ann, Thomas Kendall, Stephanie Lee, and Greg Matthew. And great-grandpa Glenn, I think he's also on screen. Amazing. Great-grandpa Glenn. Will you spoil with love Daphne and Calvin? Will you step up when asked and step back when asked? Because you know that when it comes to parenting, there is a dance between asking for help and learning on your own. If so, please answer, we will.
You will.
We will.
And to our congregation here this morning, We dedicate children on Sunday mornings during worship because we know that both parents and children need the support and friendship of other loving adults and family members and members of their community to help nurture children in both body and spirit. So to those of us gathered here, members and friends of this congregation, do you accept responsibility to help care for Daphne and Calvin and their parents, and will you receive them into the embrace of this community? Will you offer Daphne and Calvin your caring attention as they play and learn and grow and serve and heal and hurt alongside the rest of us? Do you promise that you will help to uphold their family in the promises they have made today, dedicating ourselves to sharing in the spiritual nurture of these children? If so, please say, "We do."
Okay, I invite all of the children, the other children present here today, to stand. You guys ready? You all are the closest to Daphne and Calvin in age in our congregation, and will be working, playing, and learning alongside them as they grow. And they will look to you. Will you be their friend? Will you be kind and fair to them? Will you show them the best in you so that they may discover the best in themselves? If you promise to do these things, please answer, "We will." Thank you. Please be seated. I think
I'm gonna go right into the dedication. So folks can sit down. Thank you for coming up. So now is the time in our dedication where we are going to bless these children. And we use water in our dedication because water is the essence of life, and it is where life begins. And this water, which was collected and blessed and then boiled from our water communion at the beginning of the year, is imbued with the fullness and richness of life and experiences that this water has represented for all of us. So we give a rose to each child being dedicated as well as a symbol of beauty and wonder of their unfolding life. And we use a rose with thorns removed, symbolic of our commitment to protect their life from harm and to ensure that their life, like these roses, have the opportunity to unfold in their own unique beauty. So Daphne, do you want to come closer to me, Daphne? This is the part that we practiced, all right? You ready? Okay. So Daphne Lee McNabb, I bless you in the name of all that is holy and good, and I dedicate you to a life of beauty and truth and service and love. So with this water, I touch you near the eyes, that you may see beauty in your life. And on the forehead, now I'll move over this way. On the forehead, that you may think clear and noble and unique thoughts. And near the lips, that you may speak words of truth and justice and kindness. And near the heart, that you may be filled with love and compassion. So Daphne Lee McNabb, I bless you in the name of a beloved child of the universe. And may you grow to know yourself a gift and a blessing. This rose is for you.
Okay, now it's Calvin's turn. Want to come up closer? Calvin Kendall McNabb, I bless you in the name of all that is holy and good, and I dedicate you to a life of beauty, truth, service, and love, in all of its abundance. With this water, I touch you near the eyes, that you may see beauty in life. On the forehead, that you may think clear, noble, and unique thoughts. The lips, or in the mouth, whichever. That you may speak words of truth and justice. And on the heart, that you may be filled with love and compassion. Calvin Kendall McNabb, I bless you as beloved child of the universe, that you may grow to know yourself to be a gift and a blessing, and in your actions and your words, you may bless this world. Amen. And this rose is for you.
And let's close with a short blessing. For the gift of childhood and of children, we rejoice and give thanks. May these children, Calvin and Daphne, whom we have blessed and affirmed today, as a sacred gift and promise to nurture, may they grow to know beauty and truth and justice and love, and may they be filled with wonder and delight. May we be filled with wonder and delight at the miracle of new life. May it be so, and amen. All right, I believe it is time for any children who would like to go with Rose to Children's Chapel to gather by the door to the breezeway as we sing them out.
Peace and come back in peace. Blessed be.
We transition now to a space of meditation and prayer. And I invite us to take a few deep breaths and feel yourself enter into a space of stillness. If you're here in the sanctuary this morning and would like to fill out a joy or concern card, you can fill it out during our centering hymn. And if you're joining us on Zoom and wish to share a joy or a concern during the time of meditation and prayer, I invite you to type that into the chat now. I invite us to remain seated and join in singing our centering hymn, Courage, My Friends. The words will be on the screen, and Michael will lead us.
There we go. Should be. All right. Okay, so I'm going to teach you this song, and then I'll give you the instructions on how you're going to sing it with me. All right, so courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. All right, now how we're going to do this is I'm going to go courage, and then you repeat it, okay? So let's just try that, okay? Courage, my friend. And then together, you do not walk alone. All right, try that. Courage, my friend. You do not walk alone. Let's try that first part again. Courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. Second verse. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. All right, first one again. Courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Yeah, please harmonize if you want. Courage, my friend, not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit home.
This morning, our prayers from our community include one from Jen Buckwald for Carol Allen, a sorrow for Carol Allen back in the hospital from surgery complications. Prayers to her. Another from Jen Buckwald, a sorrow for my friend Maureen, just diagnosed with extremely rare cancer. Surgery planned next month and very risky. Prayers, please. An anonymous prayer for mom in rehab and another friend died. A prayer from Kathy Ware, a joy. Gregory leaves for Greece and Turkey on Wednesday, wishing him safe travels. And a sorrow from Stanzi Royden. In memory of my ex-brother-in-law, Clark Birchfield, who died on Friday, keeping my sister and their sons in my heart. And a prayer of sorrow for me, for a member of the Sherborne congregation where I served for many years, and his family, Jeff Brown, who died by suicide last weekend. I'm holding Jeff and his family, his wife and his 3 kids in my heart, as well as the whole Sherborne community. And a prayer from Sunil Saran on joining us online. Blessings for our grandniece and new nephew on their wedding a week ago, Mary and Sunil. And another one from them, blessing for our friends Tom on his 75th. And for all of these prayers and for all of those we hold in our hearts, I will light a candle. And let us join together in a space of prayer and meditation. Holy One, known by many names and in many ways, be with us as we enter into a time of silence, contemplation, in the sanctuary of our hearts. Hold us through all of the seasons of our lives, the surgeries, the birthdays, the losses, the recoveries, the worries, the celebrations. Remind us that we are never alone, that we are surrounded by love, surrounded by community. Holy One, in this time of questions and heartbreaking news, be with us, offering us comfort, connection, and peace. May it be so, and amen. And together we rest into several moments of shared silence, followed by our musical meditation.
From Healing the Heart of Democracy by Parker Palmer. The politics of our time is the, quote, politics of the brokenhearted, an expression that will not be found in the analytical vocabulary of political science or in the strategic rhetoric of political organizing. Instead, it is an expression from the language of human wholeness. There are some human experiences that only the heart can comprehend and only heart talk can convey. Among them are certain aspects of politics, by which I mean the essential and eternal human effort to craft the common life on which we all depend. When all of our talk about politics is either technical or strategic, to say nothing of partisan and polarizing, we loosen or sever the human connections on which empathy, accountability, and democracy itself depend. If we cannot talk about politics in the language of the heart, if we cannot be publicly heartbroken, for example, that the wealthiest nation on earth is unable to summon the political will to end childhood hunger at home, how can we create a politics worthy of the human spirit, one that has a chance to serve the common good? And now it's time for the offertory. Generosity is a spiritual practice at the Unitarian Universalist congregations. We give to remind ourselves of how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are a part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with gratitude for all that we have been given and with the faith that together we have more than enough. Links to donate will be in the chat, or you can take a meditative moment writing out a check and sending it to the church after the service. Ushers will be coming around the sanctuary to collect an offering from those in the pews who wish to donate something more tangible. As Yukiko shares her music, an offering to sustain this congregation of memory and hope be gratefully received. Thank you.
So most years in my role as the Minister of Faith Formation in my previous congregation, I ran our 8th grade coming of age program. And throughout this year-long program, we would do various activities to help the young people in our group think about what their beliefs and values were and to nurture their own sense of Unitarian Universalist identity. And toward the beginning of the year, it was a year-long program, we would have a session on UU theology. And one of the activities in that session was a cross-the-line activity, where participants would move from one side of the room to one side of the room if they agreed with a statement I read out loud, and to the other side of the room if they disagreed. And the prompts were wide-ranging. I think that will fix the problem. The prompts were wide-ranging. They're everything from, I believe there's a God, people would disagree or agree, to I believe that humans are born inherently good, to I believe that Unitarian Universalists can believe whatever they want. Now, I ran this program for many, many years, maybe 7 of the 9 years that I was in that role. And early on, when I shared that last prompt, I believe Unitarian Universalists can believe whatever they want, the overwhelming majority of the young people in the group would go to the agree side every year. And we'd always have a little conversation after each of the prompts about why are you standing where you're standing. Sometimes I would challenge them a little bit to consider other angles. But every year they seemed to have relative consensus. As Unitarian Universalists, they could believe whatever they want. Until 2017. The group flipped. Suddenly, almost the entire group of 8th graders had a new consensus. Unitarian Universalists cannot believe whatever they want. I was perplexed. Why had the pattern reversed? It soon made sense. 10 months into the Trump presidency, the group cited so much of what was happening at that time. Immigration bans and xenophobia, the Unite the Right rally had happened that summer, rising white supremacy, increased hostility towards transgender people. They cited these as evidence that these beliefs were incompatible with what they had learned from our Unitarian Universalist church. I ran the program for several more years after that, and the group never flipped back. In my own Unitarian Universalist church as a child, I was what you might call a feral church child. I was often found hanging out, I would have said I was stuck, at church long after all of the coffee hour snacks had been put away while my mom talked and talked. My sister and I knew all of the secret back passages of our church, and as an aside, I am very pro-feral church children. I think it is absolutely great faith formation. But one afternoon, after a particularly long annual meeting, and waiting for it to end, and listening, kind of half listening in the back, we got into the car, and my mom was fuming. And I asked why she was so mad, and she explained that the church was trying to adopt a new mission statement that included some language about how we were striving to be an anti-racist, anti-oppressive community, or something to that effect. But the conversation got derailed by a member saying that he was adamantly opposed to that being added to our mission statement because he did not think our church should be anti-anything. And I honestly don't remember if the mission statement passed or not, or if we committed to being anti-racist, but I do remember that line, that our church shouldn't be anti-anything. And I remember thinking as a young middle schooler, but isn't racism bad? Shouldn't we be against it? Now, if it's not clear, I don't think that we can believe whatever we want as a Unitarian Universalist. I draw a distinction between the inherent worth and dignity of all people and the inherent worth and dignity of all beliefs, because I think that some beliefs are incredibly harmful and they are incompatible with the core tenets of our faith. I think that sometimes that we say we can believe whatever we want to mean that we have an incredible diversity in our churches when it comes to more abstract theology. Things like whether or not we believe in God or what happens when we die. I think we do have an incredible diversity of beliefs about these things. But I also think that our Unitarian Universalist faith gives us some pretty clear directions when it comes to more practical application of theology in the here and now. Questions like, are some people more worthy of love than others? Or does it matter how we act or how we believe? Or is there only one right way or many ways to understand what is most holy and true? Or what is the role of freedom and agency and conscience in our search for truth and meaning? Is there only one source of truth, and do only some people have access to it? The answers to these questions have real-world practical applications, and they lead us to advocate for certain causes and certain ways of being in the world and away from others. For instance, my own belief that every person is worthy of love and dignity and autonomy over their own self-knowing leads me to fiercely and unequivocally defend the rights and dignity and access to resources for transgender and non-binary and gender non-conforming people, even if I am on a journey of learning about those issues myself. But sometimes those issues get called political, right? As though they are not also personal. As though, and we all know that politics in this day and age can be divisive and polarizing, now more than ever, right? And many of us were taught, myself included, to not talk about politics or religion or money in polite company. Well, guess what, friends? Next month is Stewardship Month. But I think about what that phrase means, polite company, and what sort of complicity it's allowed for, what silences it's forced us to keep, and what status quos it's upheld. Parker Palmer, a Quaker teacher and writer who we heard in our reading today, says that politics is the essential and eternal human effort to craft the common life on which we all depend. And I just love that framing. Politics is the essential effort to craft the common life on which we all depend. And what a beautiful reframing away from the divisive and polarized position that politics is so often cast into in our world today. Crafting a common life on which we all depend. Because I get the reluctance to talk about politics, I do. When we fear that others may disagree with us, that it may cause conflict around the family holiday table or in a church community, it can sometimes feel easier to avoid the issue and say, no, let's not talk about it, than to lean into it. But conflict can also be generative. It can help us to know where our values lie, and it is the work of a faith community to figure that out in conversation with each other, what our values are and what our faith calls us toward. Because my faith also tells me that this common life, on which we all depend, has very real and very tangible consequences for people. And sometimes I wonder if we call things political when our privilege or our distance from the issue allows us to be shielded from those consequences. A colleague of mine tells a story about how the day after the 2016 election, her congregation opened up their sanctuary to hold a processing and healing space. And some members of the community were very angry because they felt like the church was taking a political stance on the outcome of the election. But my colleague says, one of the things she remembers most from that evening is that several parents of transgender kids came to the processing space just to share their outright fear and anger and heartbreak and dismay and worry about what this election might mean for their kids' safety and dignity and well-being. And I think it feels much less political and much more personal and pastoral and spiritual when it is happening to us, when it is our real lives and our dignity and our rights and our well-being on the line. There's a quote that most preachers know from theologian Karl Barth, who said that we should preach with the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other. Meaning it is our job as people of faith to interpret the events of the world around us through the lens of our faith. That our faith is not some abstract set of ideas, but it is instead an integral part of how we make meaning of the world and of our lives. How we live and act in the world, how we know what is and is not aligned with our values and our moral center. In 2009, the Unitarian Universalist Association's nationwide justice arm was introduced, Standing on the Side of Love. It is now renamed Side with Love, And at first, some people really objected to the name, not because of the ableist metaphor of standing, which was later removed, but because they objected to the idea of love taking sides. This month, our worship theme is justice and equity. And I believe that if we are going to manifest justice and equity in the world, if we are going to let a liberating love lead us, then love is going to take a side on some things. Love is going to show up for justice, for human dignity, for equity, for liberation. Love is going to take a side and say, no, you cannot deny access to gender-affirming healthcare. That is not love. And it is going to say, no, you cannot bomb civilians and hospitals. That is not love. And yes, we need to shelter and house immigrants and refugees and families sleeping at Logan Airport and on the street. That is love. And yes, we need to feed people who are hungry. That, too, is love. Friends, our faith calls us to put love at the center, and sometimes love takes a side. Love takes a side when it is real people and their lives on the line. And I think that our dominant status quo, polite company culture has taught us to call this politics, and by doing so, to keep love quiet, to not let love take a side, but instead to uphold the status quo, which is often not a status quo that is aligned with my values or my faith. But friends, if politics is simply the essential human effort to craft a common life on which we all depend, shouldn't we let our faith lead us? Shouldn't our faith inform our politics? Shouldn't we ask, what does my faith with love at the center call me to advocate for as we endeavor to craft this common life? Where is love calling me to show up? Friends, we are entering into another election year that has the potential to bring up painful and scary feelings. And I want to be able to talk about that and the issues of our time here at church. And I'm not saying I want us to endorse any particular candidates as a community or issues that would violate our nonprofit status, but instead I want us to, together in community, be able to do the important spiritual work of figuring out what our faith calls us to do when our faith calls us to take a side. And I want to know, how does this affect you? How does this move you personally? Where does it cause you heartbreak or fear? I want us to be in conversation with each other even when we might not 100% disagree, because we know that sometimes when we're able to stay in relationship and stay connected, that being in conversation can help us get a better understanding of our own values as individuals and as a group. So friends, as we do the difficult and tender work, the essential and eternal human task of crafting the common life on which we all depend, because we are interconnected in more ways than we could possibly know, may we let our faith guide us with love at the center. May it be so, and amen. I invite us to rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Love Will Guide Us. It's number 131 in the gray hymnal, and the lyrics should be on your screen.
Love will guide us, peace astride us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Please be seated. Friends, may love guide us in our attempts to craft a common life. May we let our love take a side and show up for justice and equity for the common good, for the common life in which we all can thrive. May it be so, and amen. A few announcements and invitations before we close this morning. First of all, if you are joining us in person, I invite you to coffee hour next door through these doors. And if you're joining us on Zoom, I invite you to stick around for our breakout rooms. If you're in coffee hour with us this morning in person, I invite you to check out the new Justice Bulletin Board during coffee hour. There will be folks from the Justice Ministries group to chat about what's going on in our church and ways to get involved. A couple of other announcements. We are still taking sign-ups for Creating Theology Together with Rose coming up. And this morning we also have a special announcement about the kickoff to Tickets to Safety.
Hi, I'm Susan Karen, and we are doing our annual kickoff to Tickets to Safety. And for people that aren't familiar with this fundraiser, it is a campaign to help Renewal House, which is a faith-based shelter that's part of the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry and supports people that are experiencing violence. And not only do they provide shelter, but a variety of resources. And sometimes some of those resources are to help people get away. So Tori Harrington, I believe it was about 20 years ago, created our church. So we started our bus. Thank you, Tori, for creating the church. No, the bus. And what happens is every $25 that is donated to Renewal House, a sticker goes in the window representing somebody going to a safe place. So this is going to run for a couple more weeks. And for more information about Renewal House or our participation in the urban ministry, you can see me at the table in coffee hour. Thank you. Thanks, Heather.
The Urban Ministry is one of our congregation's partners, and we are also hosting a community conversation. This congregation is sponsoring a community conversation on restorative home ownership this Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m., and you can attend a watch party at the Urban Ministry, or you can join on Zoom. And I believe more information will be coming soon about that. This tomorrow is the next installation of our Journey Dance program, Spiritual Practices Through Movement. And if you're interested in joining in a movement-based spiritual practice here at the church, feel free to come tomorrow. More information and the sign-up link is on your weekly email. We are hosting another round of candlelight dinner potlucks. And you can see Meredith if you'd like to. We're now having an opportunity for sign-ups if you'd like to join one of the potlucks. And we are also looking for somebody to help host a multi-generational potluck in the parish hall in March. See Meredith for more details on Meredith St. John for more details on either of those things. And finally, I invite you to RSVP for the installation on March 3rd at 2:30 p.m., a celebration of our shared ministry and my arrival as your new minister, new settled minister this year. It'll be a lovely celebration and I think a really beautiful service, and people have put a lot of work into it. So please RSVP so we know how much food to get. That would be very helpful. Thank you. And with that, Yukiko will close us out with our postlude.